So Pokemon Go has officially been sold to Scopley for $3.5 billion. The rumors were true, turns out. But thankfully, outside of rumors, we have some more, confirmed details, some better insights into how this deal is going to go moving forward, potential changes or not changes to the game of Pokemon Go. There were 3 separate statements put out, one from Niantic, one from Scopley, and one from Pokemon Go. I won't be just reading out slabs of text. I will link those all below if you want to read through yourself. I will be quoting from them. I have read all 3 of them. I'll be giving you guys my thoughts, my feelings, my opinions, plus, some of the facts that have been presented to us. Additionally, myself and a few other creators have had a chat with a few members of Niantic staff over last night, this morning, about, the deal and the changes. Those conversations I'm sure are going to continue through the weekend into next week. So from those future conversations, stay tuned here. I will update you with what I can share from those too. Before we jump into the nitty gritty of this and, become part of Speculation Nation, I really want to emphasize that Pokemon Go is and has the potential to be a forever game. It's sustainable, it's very profitable in its current form, and any company in the position to spend $3.5 billion to acquire it isn't going to come in overnight and change everything, or at least if they did, it'd be very stupid to do so. I'm no businessman, and even I know that would be a dumb idea. So even with some reservations about Scopley's previous products and monetization strategies in other games, I'm slightly less concerned with that for Go, because Go is an established game with an established and engaged player base. No one in their right mind would muck that up, in my opinion. That's purely from like a cynical business, money in your hand perspective. If Pokemon Go stays in the state that it is and just keeps getting better, gradually over time, not just coming in overnight and putting in, pop-up ads in the game or something crazy. Like the short-term profits would not outweigh the long-term for Pokemon Go. Again, it has the potential to be a forever game. So there's a lot of info to go through, but my gut feeling from reading through everything and from how this deal has been, agreed upon, I'm far less concerned than when it was in rumor territory of like the game just getting sold off. So I will link to all 3 statements again down below, but this video will have some stuff that is not in those statements. So the key points, the key overview points. Scopley has acquired Niantic's third-party games. That's Pokemon Go, Pikmin Bloom, and Monster Hunter now, and the teams that work on those games. So the Niantic staff and teams that work on those games, they have acquired all of that. So they didn't just take, the code for Pokemon Go, they have the coders, they have the artists, they have the, the humans on the ground, the people that you guys might have met at in-person events, the people that I know and talk to, multiple times a week. Those teams are staying intact and going with the deal, with the games. The Pokemon Company and Pokemon Company International are obviously still involved because Pokemon is their IP. They own that. Nothing happens to Pokemon without Pokemon's say-so. I know it's always funny when people see posts out of context of, why would Niantic design such an ugly Pokemon? It's like, they don't make the Pokemon. Like, Pokemon makes so Pokemon's still obviously involved. They're going to have final say on, I'm sure, a lot of things, as they always have. It's their property, it's their right to do so. Niantic is retaining Ingress and Peridot. Those are their 2 independent games. So Ingress was their first game. It was the foundation for Pokemon Go, like that mapping system and everything was the foundation that Go was built on. And Peridot is their very AR, their own IP, their own creation. They can do what they want with it. They're very AR focused game. And finally, Niantic is spinning off, I'm gonna have to read this chunk though, spinning off their pioneering geospatial AI business into a new company, Niantic Spatial. Please excuse me while I quote for a moment here. Niantic Spatial will be funded with $250 million of capital, including $200 million from Niantic's balance sheet and $50 million investment from Scopley. So Scopley is independently then, funding this, putting some investment into this secondary project that Niantic's working on. The Niantic Spatial company is going to be focusing on developing a lot. All of the mapping and AR stuff is going to be, as a very brief overview, wrapped up in Niantic Spatial. So focusing on developing a large geospatial model, a world model powered by large-scale machine learning that enables people and machines to understand and navigate the physical world. So, having met John Hanke, the CEO of Niantic, this whole spiel on Niantic Spatial seems far more aligned with his personal passions. Having met him and chatted with him, I don't know him like buddy, shoulder to shoulder. We've met, you know, a handful of times. Take that with a grain of salt. But to me, he is someone who seems incredibly passionate about maps and mapping, and now especially with, you know, evolving technologies, how AR overlaps with mapping. And like that real world, he wants to map the whole world basically. You know, hence the obvious early career at Google Maps and stuff. And one thing I've definitely noticed from my conversations with him is that he is incredibly passionate about maps. And in those conversations, that passion overlap with Pokemon Go was more specifically related to maps in Go and the potential ways that, you know, Pokemon could have cool interactions with the maps and with AR and reality. So, you know, things like the AR blending he was very interested in, or through, you know, concepts relating to very vaguely, like, I think we just had a bit of a brief chat about, like, I had mentioned the idea of like, oh, Pokemon migrating. And he was like, yeah, you know, you could see, you know, swarms of Pidgey or things, you know, migrating from different hemispheres, and things like that he was excited about Pokemon were more specifically in relation to how the real world or the real world map could influence Pokemon or Pokemon's behavior. Again, this is all just like vague chats that we were having. But to me, it didn't seem like that passion extended to gaming as a whole. It seemed like anytime you bring up maps and AR and things like that, incredibly engaged, incredibly excited. But when discussing like really nitty gritty things about the game and the functionality and the community, he seemed less, not that he didn't care, but it just seemed like that was less his driving force and his wheelhouse. I personally feel like that conflict of passions has held Pokemon Go, the game, back. For example, a prime example would be, you know, the Pokestop radius reduction. That's a perfect example of a conflict between the push for real world mapping, real world interaction, compared to how people actually play the game. No one needs to stand this close to a Pokestop to interact with the game benefit of it, you know? We're still already out and about doing the thing. But when it comes to like other Niantic staff members like Ed Wu, Michael Steranka, a bunch of other people, I do feel like their passions are far more aligned with the game of Pokemon Go and not like the maps, you know, fixation. Again, having met both of them and plenty other members of the team several times, I had, you know, far more chats and longer conversations and more time with these individuals. I think you guys know that I'm pretty candid, or at least you get the vibe that I'm a fairly candid, upfront kind of person. So even if there's conversations that I can't, you know, put in a video, or, you know, sharing specific things would be breaking NDA. Like I can't just tell you like the secret back end details and stuff. Please, like, rest assured that I do ask those questions or have those conversations. Even if I can't put them out there, I want to be, you know, informed. And I'm not afraid to, I guess, ask those sorts of things. The good thing being, obviously, that Ed Wu, Michael Steranka, those sorts of people, those team members are staying with Pokemon Go, and that gives me more confidence that there are people on the team, staying on the game, that have a far broader, like, the game of Pokemon Go focus and passion compared to the AR and mapping intense passion. I can confirm from my side of things as a creator, my, you know, direct contacts and how I talk to Niantic and whatever else, that's staying intact. They've confirmed, you know, this channel is still open between us. Business as usual, essentially. And from that communication, I've got a quote. I'm going to read another direct quote from Michael Steranka. Again, this won't be in the, you know, 3 published thingies. This is just from chats like this morning. So, quote, "Keeping the band together was incredibly important to us, and one of the reasons we knew Scopley would be a great fit is that it seemed equally important for them. From the get-go, they've always insisted they would only be interested in this acquisition if the full development team was coming along. They really see how valuable and unique the team is, and like I mentioned, all the signals I've gotten from Scopley so far is that they want to empower us to do even more." So again, I feel like it's a fairly positive, you know, a positive insight there. I feel as though if this was a detrimental, horrendous, oh god no, sort of change to the game, I genuinely think us creators would be left in the dark with no communication. And we'd be like, hello, what's happening to the... And we'd be here like, I don't know guys, I guess just read the 3 posts, good luck. Like, hopefully it says what they mean, they say. There's been like a lot of proactive communication from the team in the last, not even, it hasn't even been 24 hours yet. So that is it's very refreshing and reassuring for me. I know that's obviously a lot to ask as well, or to share with you guys, and then for you to have to trust my vibes essentially, or what I feel and things like that. But as someone who has been involved in, you know, some way, shape or form with the creator side of things since what, like 2018? Like, it's been a while. I think a lot of us have a pretty good, you know, gauge or at least sense for some of these things. And this does make me a bit more confident. Again, as I mentioned, Scopley is acquiring the entire team plus the game. It would be moronic for them to try and change the game overnight, or to, honestly, to dramatically change the game at all in a way that alienated the player base. Like, you already have such an engaged player base. It would be ridiculous to screw it up. Like, you've been given a amazing deal. So I'm hopeful. I'm a little bit less stressed knowing that, you know, the core humans, the team of Pokémon GO is going with the game. I am curious for how team members that work on like Go and Ingress will work going forward, if they're going to have to pick, you know, staying with the Ingress side of things, or if they'll work on both still, or if they have to, you know, pick a team essentially. I don't know. Another thing I really wanted to mention was Scopley mentioned in their acquisition details, they kind of shared their pillars, you know, their game development pillars, their company pillars, that sort of thing. I really wanted to compare that to the Niantic pillars. So Niantic's pillars for everything that they did and do was based around movement, exploration, and real-world social interactions. So you can definitely see how those things very much push for IRL, get outside, do thing, okay? Scopley's pillars, quoting again, socially driven experiences that spark connection, community, and friendly competition among players around the globe. Dynamic and always evolving, players will have a new challenge or world to explore. And number 3, built for the long term, featuring immersive worlds that players want to return to for years. So I feel like even just that difference between real world, you know, the Niantic get outside real world communities, and, you know, Scopley's, you know, communities around the globe, I think there's a really good balance that could be set here for facilitating both, for encouraging both, for maintaining, sustaining both. We all know how, like, you know, we basically formed the global community pretty extremely during the lockdowns and stuff. And then there was a very, it was somewhat slow, but then quite harsh shift to, no, we're back into IRL. A lot of big changes to remote raids, to the limits on those, to the cost of those, things like that. And then, you know, again, a lot of negative changes for rural players, for people in smaller communities, all that sort of thing. So I do hope that with that pillar aspect, there is a better balance. I feel like there's a lot of room to keep building the returning in-player base through Campfire, through community ambassadors, and to also rebuild the online communities too, not just for online raids, but for PvP, things like that. I know for a lot of Aussie communities, a lot of us are back out and about in person, like a lot. My local WALLSEND group gets turnouts of like 100 people for a GMAX debut. 100 people. And just to be clear, like WALLSEND is like the back butt, like suburb of Newcastle. Like the main street looks borderline like a rural town. I think WALLSEND itself only has a population of like it's just the suburb, but like 13,000 people as the suburb. It's not massive. That's 100 people from local groups, from Newcastle, like driving 20 minutes, 30 minutes out of the city, and even people driving from 1 hour away to join the WALLSEND groups for these, you know, raid days, for these Dynamax battles, because they know we'll have numbers and they can get, you know, the battles done. But I also know that that doesn't mean that everywhere in the world has these returning in-person communities. The rural struggle has been real since day one. And again, I hope that that core pillar of, community and friendly competition amongst players around the globe can help, you know, direct the online global community again. I genuinely believe that there is a good balance to be had there for both in-person. I think it's incredibly important to have the in-person. I think that is what makes the game very, very special. But I also believe that every individual playing should be included or have the opportunity to be included as well in some way. So I'm hopeful that just the core beliefs of the companies can help push Go to be even better, to be the best that it can be. And I know it's way too early to know how Pokemon Go is going to look in a year from now. And I know my opinion is only one person. Maybe it's incredibly naive, to say that I'm less concerned. But for me personally, I am genuinely less concerned now, knowing that the entire team is staying on board to continue driving the game forward. Plus, I'm hopeful that, this new company's, or what they say that their new, or what they say that their, core pillars and focuses are, helps enable better changes in the games. I do hope that this change equals more funding, budget, scope, whatever else to push Pokemon Go forward to the best place that it can be. Because there's a lot of ways to improve this game and make it more fun, get a bigger player base, returning players back, without having to be, let's put pop-up ads in the games and that sort of thing. Like, that's just, again, I think that's just dumb. I think that wouldn't be sustainable long term. I think there's so many if all those little bits and pieces that were kind of pet peeves to us along the way, but they didn't align with Niantic's pillars of the movement, the in-world social, the exploration, there might be finally some scope for those things to get better or to get put in the game at all, where we never would have seen them because it conflicts with the, the Niantic values. Again, I'm not someone who's a pessimist, nor am I an optimist. The glass is neither half full nor half empty. The glass is half. That is what it is. It's factually, the glass is half. So I'm very much someone who is, I'll wait and see. If the game goes off the rails, we'll play different games together. We'll do something else. We'll go exploring. We'll go find some, real world Pokemon. Go find some, koalas to look at and stuff instead. And if the game improves and gets better and all that sort of jazz, happy days, even better. Please let me know your thoughts and feelings, opinions in the comments. Again, it's a lot to take in. Again, I'm going to be chatting with Niantic over the coming days, and from, again, whatever I can share with you guys, I will do so. But yeah, let me know. Thoughts and feelings. Again, it's too early to know, truly, how much, if anything, will change. They've said in their statements that nothing's really changing, except for, that Pokemon Go is always an evolving game. There will obviously be new things coming to the game in due time, but the core fundamentals of the game are not changing. So we will see. As always, lovelies, thank you so much for watching. If you are new, please be sure to subscribe. And thank you to everyone who did leave a like as well. If you'd like additional ways to support the channel, links for Patreon and the merch in the description down below. As always, I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful morning, noon, night, whatever time it is for you, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.